welcome to the D3D4 Football Podcast with me, your host, James Richards. Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of the Division 3, Division 4 Football Podcast, covering League 1 and 2 only. And what a weekend it was. No Premier League football, no Championship football. So everyone starts to focus a little bit more fiercely on League 1 and 2. It's what we do every week, and it didn't let them down. There was goals in every game, I think, this weekend. There was no 0-0 draws, and it was a fantastic barrage of goals going in both divisions. We're here to cover it all off as always. I'm joined today by my original co-host, Luke Saunders. Welcome back, Luke.
Thank you very much. Yeah, excited to be back. And yeah, as you say, the entertainment was at a premium this weekend. So yeah, another brilliant advert for League 1 and League 2 and how good it is. And in the absence of the Premier League, so great to see.
It was great to see. And my right-hand man, Chris Stringer, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm all right. We didn't lose this week, and I saw a really good game at Macclesfield yesterday.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a bit. But yeah, a bit of housekeeping, of course. New patrons have come on board. Really appreciate the support of our patrons. It makes what we do worthwhile. Obviously, running a website, a podcast, and bringing new content for the YouTube channel is a lot of effort, a lot of time, a lot of cost. And you guys who are supporting us through the Patreon campaign are an invaluable source of support. We really appreciate it. New patrons, Simon Torve Sunderland. I'd be interested to know where you're from, Simon. I think that's could be one of our foreign listeners potentially, or maybe I'm just jumping the gun there. But great to have you on board. And Andy Huber as well has signed up. So brilliant, guys, and you can do it yourself. There's a link on our website for as little as 80p a month. It's a bargain. Come on, guys, cheers for that. Right, let's jump straight into the action because so much to go through, and we'll start as we always do in League 1.
League 1.
And I was wondering, where should we start? We had, obviously, MK Dons Wimbledon, but I think we'll get to that in a minute because the game I was at was Wycombe Wanderers versus Lincoln City. Both teams have been flying high, and bearing in mind that a couple of seasons ago, both of these sides were in the division below, they put on a fantastic spectacle. It was a really good game of football, very high octane pace. I will tell you a story in a minute about a chap who I stood with who was watching his first ever game of English football. And he chose he chose a good game to come to. Ephraim, if you're listening to this, spreading the word in LA, that's great. Thank you for doing that. But yeah, it was a fantastic game, and I have to say, huge credit to Wycombe Wanderers because speaking to Gareth Ainsworth at the end, he was telling me that he designed his team tactics to spring a surprise on Lincoln because he knows they do their homework. He knows that they're very, very organised, and they always look to see how a team is going to line up. And obviously, we all know Danny Calley's meticulous in the way he plans. But my goodness me, they came out of the blocks. They had Samuel up front, who makes me tired just watching him. He is so energetic. Cashket as well. The midfield three with Bloomfield in there, who thankfully is okay after picking up a very nasty knock in the game. I think it was in the lead up to Lincoln's goal actually. But Gape was excellent. Freeman was wonderful. The centre back pairing of Stewart and Charles. I mean, it's great to see Charles playing football again after what he's been through injury wise. And then there's some entertainment at the end as well when Akinfenwa came on and had to battle with Boswick. I mean, it was a wonderful game of football. Lincoln, I have to say, disappointed with what I saw yesterday. They've had a great start to the season, don't get me wrong, but they were put upon quite quickly. They dropped too deep. They didn't get their skilled players like Payne, Grant and Andrade into the game enough. And that's credit to Wycombe for the tactics they used. But Joe Jacobson, I mean, this guy's left foot is extraordinary. He scored a direct free kick and, question marks over Josh Vickers for the goal and for the wall, how it parted to allow it to go in. And then he scored 2 goals direct from corners. They have given him that second goal as well.
Really?
Have they?
Well, that's what they were telling me at the game yesterday. I know it went down as a Boswick own goal, though I thought actually looking at it came off Childs. But
I suppose that you can argue that it was on target as it was.
Well, that's the argument. Yeah, the referee after the game was confirming to everyone there because I was lucky enough to get, and thank you to Matt, the Wycombe media guy, for giving me access. But yeah, it was it was given by the referee to Jacobson. So he officially, I don't know if it's come through yet, because obviously on all the places you look on.
He did get the match ball, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He walked away. He was being interviewed. I didn't get to interview him because obviously you had Sky there, you had 5 Live there, and you had Quest TV there. Good to meet Colin Murray and the team. They're filming.
Yeah, and that picture.
Yeah, that picture which you kindly edited for us and
put it into black and white. Put some love hearts on it.
Yes, that's very kind of you. No, actually, no, it's great to see. I actually had a really interesting conversation with Ian Holloway, who I personally blame for putting my dad off coming to Oxford games anymore, because I remember persuading him to come and watch Oxford v Bristol Rovers at the Manor. I can't remember how old I was. I can't have been that old. My dad had been working all week, so all right, look, I'll take you. We'll go up there. I think we got trounced 5-0 by a Bristol Rovers side that included Trevor Challis, Mark Walters, Jason Roberts, Jamie Curitan, Nathan Ellington, and Oxford was so woeful at that time, and my dad's like, right, thank you for that, never again. And I was telling Ian Holloway about that, saying you've got a lot to answer for, Mr. Holloway. But no, he's a great laugh, and it was good to have a chat with him. But back to football. I mean, Luke, Wycombe, they're top of the division.
It's astonishing, isn't it, really? And, I mean them no disservice when I say that, because you look at the quality. I know we've only played 6-7 games, but it is an absolutely fantastic achievement. And the thing that they're doing is your classic. They always say when you to get promotion. I know again we're talking really early, but to get promotion, you win your home games and you draw your away games, and that's exactly what Wycombe have done. They've won all their home games and drawn all their away games so far. So they're making an absolutely fantastic start. And like you said yesterday, springing that surprise on Lincoln. It's a front three. And that sort of 4-3-3 kind of system that I'm sort of unfamiliar with Wycombe. They've adapted to League One from League Two, where of course they were known for their direct nature in League Two, but they seem to have adapted really well to get on the ball in League One. And when you look at that front three, the pace and the quality in that front three, it's not something you almost associate Wycombe with, because you almost kind of expect the ball to be played into Akinfenwa and to play off him, but clearly that's something they've kind of changed, and of course they can do that in matches, but the sort of quality they had yesterday showed that they've got a little bit more than that now, and that's fantastic, because you kind of have to have that in League One. And I'm interested to know, I don't know if either of you will know, because it'd be a really wild stat if anyone has ever managed to score a hat-trick of 3 set pieces including 2 corners in a English professional league game. So
oh yeah, that's obvious. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, for a second there, Chris, I thought you were going to spring some absolute world gem on me, like 1988 there or something like that. But yeah, no, it's absolutely brilliant for him. But yeah, funnily enough, we're talking about Wycombe's quality now and the different way they play, and they score from 3 set pieces, but that shows you the variety
they
have.
Were unlucky though, to be fair. Like, they should have scored from open play as well. I think Freeman hit the bar in the second half. Akinfenwa, like, for a big guy, he's got quick feet, and he did this no-look pass, which was just outrageous skill. Unbelievable. He did a quick 1-2 and did this no-look pass. He knew that the football cameras were there for sure doing that.
He is a class act all round. I remember when we played Wycombe a couple of seasons ago. I think it would have been Wimbledon actually. And he was there signing autographs with the young Oldham fans. He was he's quality on the pitch, and he's quality with fans of all teams.
Yeah, he's absolutely brilliant. And actually, no surprising, people talk about Wycombe, 3 set pieces and that, but they've actually had more shots per game than any other team in the division.
Wow.
Yeah, so I mean, it's no surprise. You take shots, you score goals, you win games. I mean, football's a simple sport when you break it down, and they do the best very well. They're also third on aerial duels won, because of course they've got Akinfenwa, they've got great centre backs who mop everything up, nice and simple. None of this sort of farting around with it at the back, which some teams try and do. I mean, the only time they tried to do that, they nearly got caught out and gave away a penalty, or perhaps could have given away a penalty. So Gareth Ainsworth, lovely bloke. His team play in his image, and they thoroughly deserve that win. Lincoln, I mean, let's not be too negative here. I mean, they had a bad day in terms of they conceded 3 set pieces, and Josh Vickers will look at himself and be disappointed. But actually, they've had a great start to the season, which is something I kind of pressed upon Danny Cowley, because he he looked very down after the defeat, and I was like, well, hang on a minute, one defeat to a team that's flying. Try to be positive, because what a start they've had to this season. And yeah, they don't have much depth, and that was quite clear that they looked a bit leggy. But I think tactically they didn't quite get it right, and it just put more pressure on them. They were not getting, they're not getting their good players on the ball enough, and I have to say they were worthy of a second place finish there in that game, and Wycombe deserved the win. Moving on. Actually, before we do move on, let me just tell you that story. So Ephraim, this chap who I was standing next to, he came from LA. He was brought over by a friend of his who's a QPR fan, and he's standing there and I was speaking to him, and I said, and he'll be on the vlog, so go and check that out when it's out later today. But he was basically saying he came over from LA 3 hours before kickoff, had a quick shower, went straight to the game, and he couldn't believe it. So this is interesting. I said, this is, remember, third tier football, and he was very impressed with the skill of the players. He's very impressed with the crowd. And he was there. He'd already heard about Akinfenwa, because a guy who he works with in LA said, like, they've got this dude who's massive, apparently, is what he told
Beast mode.
Yeah.
It's a fair description.
Yeah. Well, when he came on, he quickly got out his camera. He's taking photos of this guy. Obviously, I think Akinfenwa, he's got a career in the States afterwards as a celebrity. He
Oh yeah.
I don't know what he wants to do after this game, but I mean, he's gonna do something, isn't he?
Well, he runs like Beast mode. I think I don't know what it is, but it's some sort of brand.
It is, yeah, clothing brand, isn't it?
Is it?
I think so, yeah.
I mean, he could do anything. I mean, the guy's got global fame for being just huge. I mean, if you look at his heat map, it's quite funny because it's very central, like literally in the D.
Well, he got famous for being the strongest man on FIFA.
Oh, really?
Well, that was one of his cult things, yeah.
Oh, well, the guy, he is a beast, but he's so effective, especially at this level. So brilliant stuff. Anyway, moving on, because obviously a lot to get through. Coventry City, 2-0 down. The old Coventry City that didn't have a striker that could score goals, Chris, they'd never come back in this. They'd be done and dusted. Matt Godden, though, he's given them that other dimension, and I have to say I'm not surprised at all, because he's a natural scorer, and that's what they've lacked. And he's come in and they turned it around. And Coventry, we all know what football they play. We all know the brand and style that they play. But that is something that was missing. And do you think now, we can be talking quite confidently about them? I mean, I think they'll make the playoffs for sure. But I mean, there's a little bit of me who, if you remember our pre-season pod, that said I think they can do better than we expect.
Well, I think my reservation on not putting them in the playoffs was the fact that they might struggle away from their natural home, and actually they've done the complete opposite. They made St Andrews a bit of a fortress, really. And I'm just looking through some of their stats. They've got the 4th best passing accuracy in the league, 3rd best possession rates in the league, and they created so many chances yesterday. All right, they maybe not converted as many as they created, but it's impressive stats to look through. And this is a Coventry side playing with so much confidence that, there's nothing really stopping them. I don't think they'll make the automatic places, but I think they're looking really good value for a top 6 finish.
They got the Jabello done, didn't they? Sorry, that's a terrible pun. I mean,
oh no! What? No,
yeah, well, it's all right. We'll edit that out. I'm too lazy. But I have to say, he has looked impressive since signing, and he deserved that goal, because I think he's one of those guys that won't be clinical, and that's why he came to a sort of 3rd tier side like Coventry. But I mean, he's got such good pace, power as well, and that finish was brilliant. So it's great to see him get his English scoring record off the mark. Blackpool, I mean, they're massively solid, Luke, aren't they? But I don't know, they'll be disappointed to lose that. But I think you'll probably look and 4 games now without a win, solid side. I don't know if they're lacking something. I mean, we went to see them, Chris, didn't we, against Oxford, and they weren't great. They were very solid, and you can see they're not going to concede normally too many goals. So I think Coventry will be quite a fluid side this season when it comes to attacking momentum. But I don't know, Luke, what do you think of the Blackpool? It's the first season really post Oyston, and they've done really well so far.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And for me, I'm sure you've discussed him at length before, but I think the brilliant signing in the summer was Sully Kaiko, scored obviously twice yesterday from he's one of those that actually wasn't too bad in the Championship. And he's one of those many players that was in the Premier League and didn't quite, he wasn't quite Premier League quality, and he needed to kind of drop down to shine, and that's exactly what he did. And
flatters to deceive at times, though, doesn't he?
Yes, absolutely. Again, that's probably why he is where he is. But when he's on his game, he's fantastic in that sort of number 10 role at Blackpool, which he has been kind of known as a winger. So to sort of play in that number 10 role, interesting kind of change for him. But yeah, like you said, Blackpool, I mean, last season they were a side of there or thereabouts. They're quite solid, but they haven't quite found the net as much. They are a solid League One team. They won't have any struggles this season, but you just discussed Coventry City's potential for promotion there, and I just think Blackpool will be up there, but I think the division that they could sneak in the playoffs, but I can't see anything more from them this season. They are lacking a little bit in squad depth, in my opinion. But yeah, not a bad performance yesterday, but to throw away a 2-goal lead is obviously not great at all. But I think they'll bounce back. They are a solid team, but I don't think they've got the potency that Coventry City have to be as successful in League One this season.
No,
what really surprises me about Blackpool is that they got rid of Jamie Devitt.
Well,
Yeah.
he didn't get a look in, did he? I mean, Terry McPhillips signed him, and then Simon Grayson came in and then didn't give him a look in. And obviously, I've spoken to Jamie about this, and I think he just wants to play. Obviously, he's got to play minutes because he's at that stage in his career where you'd argue he's just coming off his best season, and I think Blackpool have missed a trick there. Personally, I mean, who am I to question Simon Grayson? But we know him, personally, and we know him as a player. Carlisle fans will know how good he was last season. You know what you're going to get with Jamie Devitt. Sometimes he can fade out of games. I mean, he's that kind of player. But when he's on form, the kind of passing, incisive balls he plays. I mean, unfortunately, he's got a hamstring injury at the moment, so didn't play for Bradford yesterday. But yeah, I think I think they've missed a trick with that one. But we'll have to wait and see. Doncaster though, Rotherham. You guys must be pulling your hair out, Rob Miller's fans, because you conceded late goal. Was it 4 in a row now? 3 or 4 in a row. I mean, it's becoming a habit, that's for sure. It's something that people are picking up on, and Doncaster getting a hugely impressive result actually. And Doncaster have, I'll be honest, surprised me this season with the way that they have coped after losing players like Marquez. You say Andy Butler, but Andy Butler I thought was a very good, stable player from last season. Malik Wilkes left after his loan was finished. So to get that result, and it's kind of like, well, step for James Coppinger for he's now scored at least 2 goals in the last 15 consecutive seasons.
He's 38 now, isn't he?
Age is but a number, Christopher.
But it is incredible to be playing at such a high quality.
In such a position as well. I mean, you look at striker centre backs, but to play in the position he does, absolutely.
And the style he plays is really quite energetic, and he's better than half the 25-year-old midfielders out there.
Oh, he is.
Yeah.
He's a cut above. I mean, what's an example though, for young professionals? Because let's be honest. I mean, even James was telling me when we spoke to him in our podcast about when he was a young professional, he lost his way a bit. So he's kind of got something to give back to the game while still being one of the best midfielders at this level. So Doncaster, what an asset he's been to them. And they've got a sign in the ground, of course, saying legend. I don't think that...
It's an understatement.
I mean, that word is overused. Everyone's a legend if they have one good game now. But he's had 15 seasons of absolutely brilliant consistency. And he's really helped the team in this transition period because Darren Moore comes in and has had to sort of rebuild that side of it. I mean, I saw Ali Crawford left. I was a big fan of his. He's gone to Bolton on a free. So, really good to see. Really nice effort. And I think Doncaster have been a bit unlucky with injuries as well, especially in the sort of centre-back position. And they've coped yesterday with a Rotherham side who, we know, again, are in a sort of state of flux themselves with all the players that they lost. I mean, again, though, they'll be disappointed to concede late. What do you think, Luke, of the Millers? Because we covered them extensively the season before last when they got promoted via the playoffs. They've lost a lot of that team, but I still see some similarities there. I mean, I think Paul Warne is a very astute manager.
Yeah, and he's been around them a bit, hasn't he, as well? But yeah, it's really difficult for us because we saw that Rotherham team that just blitzed through this division with quality right through the team. And not saying that this team doesn't have quality, that's the wrong kind of thing to say, but you kind of set the bar high, don't you? And when they drop back down into League One, they always seem to bounce back. And this season, you're looking at the moment and thinking, early doors again, I know, but you're looking and thinking they don't quite have the quality they did last time for a start. And in a far more competitive division, in my opinion, now, it makes you sort of, I'm trying to find the right word for it, because you don't kind of think, oh, they're rubbish, because they're not. But when you set the bar high, you kind of expect a little bit more of them. And, you know, obviously Ladapa was a massive kind of, I would say, kind of gamble for them. Do you mean to lose the players they did? I just don't think they're going to challenge this season, in my opinion. And they've, of course, Warren's a brilliant manager. He's done, you know, he's a great servant to the club, but I just don't think they've got it in the tank this season, for me personally. But again, they are too good for me to go down. So again, they fall into that sort of mid-table range for me this season.
I'd be interested to see what the Millers fans think about the sort of the lineup that they've got. Hastie looked really good, actually. You know, he got a good rating, got good feedback from fans about his performance yesterday. Lewis Price in goal. You know, I think Rodak was really good. So that's again another one that they've lost. But you know, also Doncaster fans, how is Sterling looking? Your chap you've got on loan. I think it'd be interesting to see how he develops. Obviously, been trusted to take him on and help him as a professional. He looks quite exciting, but whether he'll be one of those guys that comes down and has good technical ability but doesn't quite have enough to cut it. But 3,300 Millers fans there will be bitterly disappointed with another goal conceded late in the game for sure, and you can see why. Have to talk about Fleetwood, unfortunately, and Peter Clark, unfortunately. Yeah, he's still at it, isn't he, Peter Clark? What a signing.
Well, you know, he's not good enough for League Two, so he's gone to a team in League One that's fighting for promotion, and he's just scored a winning goal, but he's not good enough for League Two. Not that bitter.
Ridiculous, though, isn't it? Like, you let this player go, and he scores a bullet header sort of 10 minutes from time to sing. I mean, Oxford, don't get me wrong, we always lose at Fleetwood. I think Oxford fans will know this. There's no point going there. Unless you like the pug wash music, there's literally no point going to
there's
Fleetwood.
A fantastic chippy across from Highbury.
Yeah, it's still not worth it. It's still not worth it as an Oxford fan. To see
your
team lose and have to listen to that insipid music every time that the home team score. It just... But no, Oxford again, like, you know, we look really good against Blackpool, didn't we, Chris? But we've lost, like, is it 5 on the bounce now?
Yeah, you're not enjoying your trips to the Files at the moment.
No. I mean, in terms of performance, it's disappointing. It's disappointing to concede late. It's disappointing that we got ourselves back in the game and we've lost that one. It's still early, and I will not get on the managers back at this stage at all, because I think performance-wise we're playing reasonably well, but defensively we're all over the shop in the last few matches, and that surprises me somewhat, because I thought we were fairly good in the games against Blackpool, and obviously early season against Peterborough, we kept back-to-back clean sheets against them. So yes, little bit annoying to see us go 5 without a win.
This game yesterday, apparently you were caught offside often.
That doesn't surprise me, Mr.
Well,
Mackey.
That was something we spotted at Blackpool. Was every time you weren't necessarily always creating enough in the final third or being potent enough in the final third, but when you were, someone was offside.
Yeah, Jamie Mackey usually.
Yeah.
I think he was at one of the highest stats for being offside in League One last season. It doesn't surprise me, and it doesn't surprise me actually that Oxford are struggling because, you know, we lost Curtis Nelson. Rob Dickey, don't get me wrong, fantastic player, one of the next big sales from the club for sure, but he does need someone next to him. I mean, I think Elliot Moore's got promise, but you know, we've lost a centre back who's gone to the Championship and who's been probably one of the best League One centre backs for the last few seasons, and obviously, you know, it's hard to replace that. So doesn't surprise me at all. Maybe John Mousinho will be moving into that defensive midfield role that was successful last season, and will and we'll start seeing some improvement. But that's a disappointing result. Anyway, Fleetwood, fantastic, absolutely brilliant. One of the highest passing accuracies in the division. You can't criticise them in hardly any ways. They're very clinical. They score lots of good goals. Paddy Madden's an excellent striker. And Joey Barton's got a team of players. I mean, Louis Coyle, what a player he'll be. I think the right back who's on loan from Leeds. They just, this is
them. I love watching the highlights of them. They're one of the teams I look out for now every weekend because they're just playing such good football. And we said at the start of the season we thought they'd do well, and they're proving their credentials for the playoffs.
Yeah, and Harry Suter, what a bright future he's got. Massive defender. Just he reminds me of someone. I can't quite put my finger on it, but really big centre back, not bad with his feet. And he's so young as well, so he's got a massive future ahead of him, and is a brilliant sign. I think he's on loan from Stoke City. But there you go. Fleetwood flying high and thoroughly deserving to be where they are as well. So one thing that I suppose we all were a bit concerned about was Gillingham under Steve Evans. It's not been, Luke, the brightest of starts for Mr. Evans, has it? I mean, they were 2-0 up yesterday, come away with a point. On paper, not a bad point, but when you take a 2-goal lead, you'd probably expect to see that one out.
Yeah, you would. You're right about that. I mean, I would say a win against, and it almost felt like a friendly. I remember when it was on the win against Bolton. You kind of in the state Bolton were in at that time. They were just coming to the close with they're playing all their youth team players again. Is one of those sort of ones you don't look at and think, oh, what a win. So yeah, they've picked up a couple of points, but they haven't really sort of dazzled under him. Usually under a new manager, you at least get a bit of a sort of a bounce for a little while, and I don't think they quite got that just yet. But yeah, it was a good start to the game yesterday. Jakubiak, really like how he's done for them. But again, Tranmere were always going to get back into that one. They were knocking at the door constantly and deservedly got a point. But again, Gills are a team that they seem to finish in the same sort of area every season. And I think under Steve Evans, it's the same kind of pattern again for them.
Well, you made a good point about Bolton because, that's a gimme. That they got the last sort of gimme against Bolton that you'll get. And without that win, they'd have had 3 points right now. If they'd lost that game, or even if they'd drawn it, say, they'd only have 4 points. They'd be, if we had 4 relegation places, they'd be essentially right in the mix and right in the mire. So not good. They've only scored, 11 goals this season, of which 36% of them have been scored by Jakubiak himself. It's worrying. It's worrying because I think, and Steve Evans is a divisive figure. He's great to have around, I suppose, when things are going well. When things are not going well, fans turn on the team fairly quickly, as we've seen in the past.
Well, they're doing the best to take Oldham's place in League One and just finishing 16th, 17th every season.
Yeah, the sort of perennial lower half side, and
it's great fun to watch.
Well, yeah, if you're a Gillingham fan, you're probably really not. Tranmere, though, again, great determination to come back. They've found life, as we thought, without James Norwood, fairly tricky. At a new level, great club in terms of the way they're run. I think have big credit to the Palaces for being a prudent sort of custodian of that club, and considering where they have been in recent seasons, Tranmere are they're back in League One. I mean, I'm looking forward to Oxford v Tranmere because Oxford v Tranmere, like I said recently when Portsmouth played Tranmere, it's a very 1990s feel to that fixture. It's sort of, I must have seen Tranmere play so many times down at Fratton Park growing up that it's great to see them back at this level, or back at a level where they can play these teams again. Cause it's just something not right seeing them play like Barrow and people like that. But there you go. Bristol Rovers and Accrington, boring. Nothing happened. I mean, no good goals. Johnson Clark Harris, poor signing him.
I mean, yeah, what a scrappy goal.
Yeah. In all seriousness, though, I mean, Coventry, why did they let him go? I mean, I suppose he's hit and miss at times. I mean, we've talked about it before, but he's certainly found a home, hasn't he?
How does someone as big as him pull off an overhead kick like that?
Yeah, that's.
I have no. I mean, I can barely run with long legs. How does he do that?
Oh God. Yeah, I don't know. It's a skill, and it was a brilliant goal, and a brace as well in that game. You'd probably be very disappointed if you're a a Rovers fan that you didn't see out a game where you're winning against 10 men. You can see the stupid penalty. It's frustrating for Rovers fans.
It sums up Accrington well. They're just a really determined side to get something from a game, and they'll scrap for it.
Yeah, I mean, they had, I think they had like 19 shots. How good a quality they were, who knows? But I mean, 19 shots on a away trip to Bristol Rovers, pretty good going.
Only 4 on target.
Obviously, Billy Key. I mean, we haven't really spoken too much about Billy Key's absence. Obviously, we wish him well. What a player he was, and a really nice guy in the interactions I had with him last season. But yeah, just sad to see that he's not there, because he does offer them, and has always offered them, a huge amount, even when he's not scoring. So we wish him well and hope he gets back to playing as soon as possible. I think, when you're Accrington, losing a player of that sort of, I would say magnitude, that quality, I mean, he is to them a very important player and has been for the last few seasons. I don't know, Luke, it's a difficult one. And obviously on their budget, replacing him with someone who can do exactly what he does is always difficult.
Oh, it is. And, the stark contrast in League One is quite frightening, but that's a great result for them. Colby Bishop, I think there was a quote the previous week, they take one in off his backside.
Yeah.
What they do is, and I think before the game yesterday, and even then, I know they still took a point. They've won on their last 4 visits to Rovers, I think, is they're just so bread and butter simple, Accrington Stanley. And as Chris summed up really nicely, that they fight for every little thing they can get. They don't overcomplicate things. They're a simple, get your head down, work hard football team. And, Sam Finley, you've got some good little, young players in that team. It's not just a team of, experienced players that are sort of dogged, and they've got a really good young core of players in there as well. And given, I look at their bench, for example, and I do not recognise players on their bench. And, I'd like to think I've kind of followed these divisions for a few years, and there's a few on there I really do not recognise. So what they do is absolutely fantastic. And again, you have to kind of look and say, a result yesterday, fantastic result, but it's just staying in League One for me, and I don't want to kind of put that little old Accrington Stanley tag on, but it really is. Like, to stay in League One on the resources they have is an absolutely remarkable achievement. And I can't see, I know Billy Key, it's a lot to replace it, but I still think they'll be okay this season. I know there's issues in terms of relegation and how tight it was last season, but they're just that good at what they do. And they're just starting to turn it around at home as well, and starting to pick up results at home. I just think they're a great little team, and I think they will be okay this season.
I think it's perfectly fine actually with Accrington to sort of make the comment that they are, in terms of their fan base and their structure, a small club, and it's an absolute credit to the way they're run, and sort of almost a commentary on football as a whole, of you can run a football club successfully and live within your means.
Yes, definitely, and Andy Holt's great sort of barometer for that, and he's a brilliant sort of personality as well.
He is indeed. Accrington, though, they won't be pleased with the fact that's their 3rd red card of the season, and so something for John Coleman to ponder. Though they, shots per game, they're 5th in the division, so they're still that attacking force. It's just they have had issues with converting, those efforts into goals. So something needs to change. The final game, though, and it's always an interesting one. It's MK Dons versus AFC Wimbledon. Finished 2-1. It was a feisty game. It was, again, another pretty good advert for football at this level. MK Dons getting up a 2-goal lead. A bit of a sort of a push, but I know, Chris, it's been a really poor start to the season for AFC Wimbledon, and it's something that we weren't too far off predicting that would happen. I think just in terms of quality in the squad and the players that they have lost over the last couple of seasons, it's pretty difficult to see how they improve. And obviously Wally Downs came in, and he did a fantastic job at turning their season around and getting them out of trouble. Is he the right man then to sort of start in a summer and push them onto the next level? It's difficult to see. It's difficult to see at the moment. I mean, do they have another great escape?
Well, I think we have Wimbledon as just scraping safety in our pre-season podcast, if I remember correctly. And it is hard to say. You're right. They've played really. They've just not been good enough yesterday. And that's not to take away from MK Dons, who were thoroughly professional. But you're right. Could this be the sort of effect we saw with Oldham a couple of seasons ago under John Sheridan, where the style of football Wally Downs is playing is very good for getting out of a scrap, but when you're then trying to push on and move forward as a team, maybe it's not the right sort of manager. It's hard to know. My policy on managers. I like to give them time, and I'm not for 1 minute saying that Wimbledon should get rid, but I think if you're looking 5 games down and they're still in this same sort of mode, because it's 7 games in now and they've not got a single win, and that's worrying for me. That's really worrying.
Yeah,
and they're not scoring enough. I don't think they've not scored more than 1 goal in a single game this season.
Yeah, I mean they scored 6 goals in the 7 matches so far, something like that. I mean, defensively they're not all over the place. They've conceded 12, which is not great, but it's they're a lot worse than that. It's just you look at that quality, and like I say, there's just not a huge amount of options for them. There's not a huge amount of.
They've got quite a small squad, and there's not huge amounts of quality within that squad. The only player that really jumps out for me is Piggott.
Yeah, I mean he was linked with a move away, wasn't he? Appier's always sort of. Yeah, I don't know whether he's gonna cut it. I mean, to be honest, O'Neill is one of the standout players on that team. I mean, I look at his stats and he does lead in most metrics for AFC Wimbledon. He's a very, very good right-sided player. But yesterday, all over the park, I mean, they were second best possession-wise, pass accuracy rate, dribble successful. They were second best. And Reece Healey, I mean, what a pickup he was. We noticeably saw them struggle for a period when he went back to Cardiff last season. So picking him up and bringing him back to a team where he was clearly comfortable, liked playing under the manager. Obviously, he got an assist and a goal yesterday. That's the 3rd time he's achieved that in his EFL career, actually assisting and scoring in the same game. And he's a player that can do that. He's got a lot in his locker. And I really think that MK Dons, the way they set up, the way they play their football, good to see Walsh back in the defence. I think he's a top player. Houghton in midfield obviously did well. Gilby, player that they missed. McGrandles doesn't get much credit, but he's an interesting one. Would be interesting to get some MK Dons fans' feedback on who they think have been their best players. Anyone that surprised you guys this season, give us a tweet about it, because okay, you probably should have won by more yesterday, but a 2-1 win against a rival, a 2-1 win, in a game that has seen you move into the sort of the area that's a bit more comfortable, because we mid-table. We're talking about you guys back-to-back defeats prior to this important result, and Paul Tisdale I think is an excellent coach, so he's doing a good job there. Right, we haven't got a lot of time, but we're going to jump down into League 2.
League 2.
And where to start, Chris? I'll let you pick one here because there were so many good games.
Oh, I mean Cheltenham's the one that jumped out for me.
Go on then, Luke. We'll come straight to you for this one. Cheltenham, 4-2 win. Obviously, I was surprised to see Varney in the lineup, like we discussed prior to the pod. I mean, he was a key player when he's not playing, and he had a big impact yesterday.
Yeah, he did. And the thing is, for Reg yesterday, he could have had 2 goals as well, which usually does put the ball in the back of the net in those situations. But the thing that he brought yesterday, which he's kind of missed with a niggle of injury for the last couple of weeks, is that sort of aerial threat up front. We really struggled to have the ball sticking up front. Fortunately, at home matches he only missed half the game against Swindon. But it's the away matches we've missed that sort of presence. So for him to come back up front with Gavin Riley, those two seem to be at the moment, in terms of fit strikers, the partnership that works really well for us. And yeah, he brought something fantastic yesterday. But for me, the really encouraging thing this season, I know you put a sort of a stat out as well on Twitter, is the sheer amount of different scorers and all-round contribution we're getting. I think the longer we're playing in 3-5-2, the more confident we're getting with it. And that's really positive to see. I mean, I think it was just under a year ago that I started my job at Cheltenham, and the first game was against Stevenage, and the contrast in year.
You've made all the difference, Luke.
No, nothing.
It's the
Nothing
Saunders
to do with
effect.
me. Nothing to do with me. But on the pitch, I mean, the change has been phenomenal. We've got an identity now, and
Do you think you leave that identity in Gloucestershire though when you go away because you've not scored on the road yet this season?
This is the thing. We're by far at the moment, the best team in the division at home. And I think it's 14 unbeaten, stretching back to last season. But I think we sit deeper away from home. Obviously, Michael said many times he's not someone who gets sort of really irate about things, and he doesn't get too highs with the highs, doesn't get too lows with the lows. And he's obviously, he will work it out. But I think at the moment away from home, we're kind of sitting quite deep. At home, we're straight on teams. The confidence is there. And away from home at the moment, we don't seem to be taking those sort of risks. We certainly don't have enough shots on goal. It's something that I'm sure will change over time. And I think we've been quite unfortunate. I think to be where we are now with the players we've had out injured, we've got a lot of key players out injured. Will Boyle, Jacob Greaves has come in on loan from Hull City. He's been brilliant, sort of filling in as at centre back. We've got two young lads on loan from Villa and Hull, and Max Sheaf and Jake Doyle-Hayes. They both missed yesterday. Rowan Hintz again had another setback coming back from suspension. Missed out last minute injury last week against Crawley, and he's meant to be the midfield enforcer. We've really coped well without some key players, and Ruben Reid isn't fit yet as well up front. So there's a lot more to come.
Is Ruben Reid ever fit?
So
yeah.
I think it's been a really positive start. Away form isn't fantastic, but
the fact though, right? Yeah, you've not scored away from home. You're sixth. What? How's that?
Yeah, it really is. I mean, Alex Adai coming off the bench at home stretches teams. There's a real feel-good factor around the place. I mean, one thing I like mentioning is the fact that we've got a singing section now in Block 7 of the Colin Farmer stand that really gets behind the team. It's lifted the atmosphere in the ground, and I think that's made a difference. As well. The pitch is fantastic. I mean, you can go and say all the factors off the pitch make a difference, but I honestly think that that does make a big difference as well. But the team on the pitch, the confidence. Ryan Broom, I know he's someone you admire. He's a great guy on and off the pitch as a person as well. He's really thriving in a new attacking midfield role. I think we've really got that sort of all-round team now. And with a scorer like Varney and someone like Reid to come back, it could be an exciting season for us. But I'm not getting too carried away, because we've got to sort that away form out. But yeah, really positive start. And for all West Country sides on a whole, actually. Great to see Newport.
What did you make of Stevenage? Because obviously hugely unfair to criticise them that much because they've had nothing but injury problems.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought there was a period in the second half they really kind of had us on the ropes for a certain period of time. And yeah, they have been really unfortunate with injuries. I know they brought in Al Abd and Mikhail Smith. They didn't really have the best games. Mikhail Smith didn't really get any of the ball when he came on, and Al Abd kind of struggled with sort of pace. You could see he was a little bit rusty. There is quality there. Danny Newton made a massive impact when he came on for the injured Scott Cuthbert. He could be really important for them, and Curtis Guthrie didn't quite have his sort of influence he usually has, but I think they will improve because of the injuries they've got. You can see there's a solid League Two team there. They're certainly not as bad as Scunthorpe, in my opinion. From what I saw, they've got quality in that team. Kennedy could whip a really good ball into the box. They'll be okay, but they've just got to have patience and a little bit of rub of the mill as well, because they're really not getting any luck with injuries at the moment.
Yeah, they're not indeed. One team though that is having not just luck, but they're just playing really well. It's Exeter City. I'll get their name right. And they went all the way to Cumbria. It's the longest trip of the season for them. 3-1 win. Some pressure building on Stephen Presley now. Booed and jeered off the pitch. I've seen Carlisle a couple of times this season. They haven't impressed me, I have to be honest. In the matches that I've analysed and watched, they have not impressed me at all.
I was chatting to Ian about this because he was saying, because he saw them at Barnsley, and he was saying he was thoroughly impressed with them. But everyone else that I've heard that's seen them...
one game is them probably playing against a team that is very unlike a League Two side. So that someone that gives them a bit more space, doesn't press them that hard, and allowed them to play their game. No one's going to let them do that at this level. Exeter were all over them in terms of the pressure that they put on them on the ball. I mean, when they went to Cheltenham, they're trying to play it out from the back, and Cheltenham high pressed them, and they made loads of mistakes. They looked pretty limp getting chances. I mean, I think that's what they're going to face at this level, and they don't have a lot of depth either. So I do worry about Carlisle. I think you're making silly mistakes for goals week in, week out. I mean, I have to say their defensive work looked pretty open at times yesterday. There were some avoidable mistakes. They got away with it against Scunthorpe last week, where Adam Collin had to bail them out on a couple of occasions. So very, very worried about Carlisle. We won't press them too much because obviously we've got to give Exeter their dues because they've been fantastic this season. And Chris, we saw them at the end of last year. They've kind of just continued where they left off. They've slowly improved. They've got good squad depth, and they're looking very, very promising so far.
Yeah, I saw them a couple of weeks ago, and it was a 0-0 draw, but they clearly had the potential of a good side in them, and they're proving that week in, week out. And they've won 4, drawn 2, yet to lose, and they're very we saw it against them. They're very difficult to beat, if anything else. If you're difficult to beat and you're going to places like Carlisle and picking up wins, all right, Carlisle aren't playing in the best of forms, but I'm not being funny. Travelling, 350, 400 miles to Carlisle? I mean, that's going to take its toll on the team. They've come out and pretty much thrashed them.
Yeah, one thing that I thought was I was just looking through some stats and stuff last week. I put one of them out that I think they'd had the smallest number of shots on target in the division, and they'd scored half of them, something like that. I mean, it's a remarkable stat because they're top of the league and they've had the least number of shots on target before this game, of course, than any team in League Two. I mean, ridiculous, and yet they're sitting at the top of the table because I suppose they're creating those chances, those shots on target are being created in good areas, and they've got people with the ability to finish, like we saw yesterday. Nicky Law,
quality over quantity sort of thing.
Martin scoring a good goal, wasn't it? Was it Martin who scored their first goal?
Both Martins got on the score sheet for that. To be honest, I think that when Stockley left, it almost has turned into a blessing in disguise because all round contribution in terms of goals is something they have now, which I didn't think they had a couple of years ago, which kind of adds to it, and they're always up there in League Two. You never really have a damp squib of a season, so they'll be up there again. But you talk about their attacking threat; they got the second best defence in the division, only 4 goals conceded. There, as Chris was saying as well, they're so hard to break down. So they have almost got the complete package and a lot of good players to come off the bench as well.
Indeed, and who has the best defence in this division? Anyone?
Newport County.
And did they concede again yesterday?
No.
No, they did not.
And they won another 1-0.
Yeah, you could go up. You could win promotions on 1-0 wins. I mean, at the end of the day, if you do not concede goals, you're going to win a lot of football matches. And yeah, I mean, I put out some stuff about centre-back partnerships. The reason I didn't include Newport is because, of course, it's a fairly new partnership compared to some of the others. But they've done it again. They've kept a clean sheet. I think King's been an excellent goalkeeper for them so far this season. I mean, they've conceded 2 goals in 7 games this season.
Amazing.
2.
I'll take that.
They're a monstrous team as well in terms of physical sort of. They're just so imposing. They've got so many tall players. I know you can say a team of tall players doesn't win you promotion, but when you've got Michael,
it helps in League Two.
Yeah, a team of tall players under Michael Flynn with a home record like Newport, it's a match made in heaven, really.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And obviously they got players. They don't feed them enough because I think Innes tried to eat some the other day, didn't he, in the cup game?
Yes.
I don't know. Hard times in Newport. Isn't there a food bank that they could send him to if he's that hungry? He's had to bite a chunk out of a player's shoulder or something. But unbelievable.
It's just trying to Suarez, it's just loan from the best strikers.
It's a silly thing to do because if he does get found guilty, I think it's 5 or 6 game suspension he'll face. I mean, when you've got.
Is it over now? Because I remember a few seasons ago, Calvin Andrews got 10 matches for elbowing Peter Clark.
I wouldn't be too worried.
Was that in the car park though, or was that on the pitch?
Well, it may as well have been in the car park.
Because Rowan Ince got a 5-game ban for throwing a bottle down that happened to hit a linesman, which is a really, So with Innis, you're probably looking at, 20 game ban if that's how they dish out game bans. That's why he missed the first 5 games of this season.
It was an accident though, wasn't it?
Well, it was, yeah. We yeah, absolutely. But there we
Yeah.
are. It's been and gone.
Crazy.
It's been and gone. So, but there we go.
Brilliant.
Just,
Yeah,
I
as
love
I said,
love League Two.
well, I mean, I didn't actually talk about much about the Wycombe game. Matt Bloomfield, disgraceful refereeing, disgraceful.
Oh, yeah,
I've never.
actually, yeah.
I mean, I do apologise for not bringing it up at the time, just carried away with how good Wycombe were on the ball. But actually, worth talking about now very briefly. Disgraceful refereeing decision because the players clearly clashed heads, and he let the play continue. Now, if that was serious, and luckily Matt Bloomfield's okay, by the grace of God, of course, but can you see how serious that could have been if he'd cracked his skull? You don't know what that situation is. We know how serious head injuries can be. That referee needs to be disciplined for that decision because, it's not a case of he sent someone off by mistake or he gave away a penalty. This is a very critical safety issue.
And actually, the position those two players were in, there was every chance the goalkeeper could have ended up trampling on them trying to stop the goal.
Well, he said to the ref when the ball came across and obviously Akinde scored, he said, I can't get to that ball because I can't jump over my colleague here who's lying prone. And obviously it looks so bad for the referee as well because the amount of treatment he needed on the pitch, the fact he was taken off with oxygen mask, it was very, very serious. So, apologies for not mentioning that in League One, but that needs to be seriously looked at by the governing bodies and that referee needs to have some disciplinary action because
we don't take head injuries seriously enough in football, and you only have to look at who was it? Was it Shearer that did the documentary on it?
Yeah,
a couple of months ago. Head injuries are so serious. We see it with American football and rugby more than we do with football or soccer. If you're comparing it to American football, these have lasting effects going into later life.
Yeah, in ice hockey they have very strict concussion, I should say, protocols.
Oh, we had nothing until a couple of seasons ago in football.
No, it's extremely serious.
I remember I got kicked in the head playing football a couple of years ago because I was playing in net and their strike comes through and whacks me straight in the head. And the only reason I was kept out for a couple of weeks was because the nurse at the school we were playing at recommended it based on rugby protocol. There was nothing for football. I could have gone back the week after if I'd been stupid enough and could walk straight.
Yeah, it's a very serious issue and something that needs to be seriously looked at. Cambridge, they lost at home to Forest Green. On loan striker on his debut, I think it's how you pronounce this, is Aitchison from Celtic, got the winning goal. Another good performance from Mark Cooper's men. Not quite as fluid yet, I think, at times than they were last season, but they're getting the results. Walsall played a game and didn't score a goal. I'll copy and paste that. Ready for
Water's
next
wet.
week. Water's wet. Walsall don't score.
Hang on a minute. You said there were no 0-0s.
Oh, I did, didn't I? I
think
thought
you
everyone
might
would.
have meant League One, hopefully.
No, I think.
Oh, don't let him off that easy.
No. I just assumed everyone would realise that Walsall were 0-0.
Yeah, it doesn't count.
They never score.
Yeah.
I have to say, Colchester will be disappointed with that though, and
They're really struggling for the quality they've got. And they added, I think Harriet came back, didn't he? That they're for the quality of the squad, they need to start getting results because there's a lot of expectation in that club, and they just don't seem to be finding any consistency at the moment.
No, it's been a disappointing. I thought they'd do a lot better than this. Disappointing start. I think, in fairness as well though, they've got this issue where they've lost Harry Pell and Lapsley, who are so key in midfield. Yeah. I think they also had another midfielder out yesterday as well. So, though Lapsley actually, I tell her he did come back for the game yesterday, but I don't know. It just, when you've got the likes of Courtney Senior, Will Norris, Frank Noble, Theo Robinson, obviously Callum Harriott now there, Paris Cohen Hall, Giovanni Brown. I mean, they've got to win more games, and I can see why Colchester fans would be frustrated at this start. I mean, it's not dire. I mean, they've got 9.7 games. Still early days, but you've got to start making your time when you're in charge and bossing games count because they haven't done that so far. Walsall, it's going to take a rebuild. I hope people don't get on Darryl Clark's back. He got his striker in Rory Gaffney, couldn't get the winger he wanted to sign over the line. I do question whether they've got enough firepower. We did say that in our pre-season poll we weren't too hot on them. I mean, they're really struggling, 21st in the division at the moment. Don't concede a lot of goals, to be fair. So that's something to build on, but they do need to start scoring. Craig, as always, gave me his lowdown on Mansfield. Wasn't a great performance yesterday, but luckily they were playing Scunthorpe, who are just dreadful. And, the Iron have, seriously, they're not made of iron this season. They're just absolutely rusty. Yeah, they're terrible. They've been rubbish.
Did we just make the same bad joke at the same time?
Yeah, we did.
Oh, we spent.
It's all right. I'll edit that.
I'm staying out of that one. That wasn't me. That was
we spent too much time chatting to each other, James.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not good. I'll have to have a detox from you, Chris. Otherwise, people will just start not listening to this podcast. The puns they are getting worse. I do apologise, but Scunthorpe, let's be honest, they're rubbish. I mean, they've got good squad of players. You look at the players they've got.
I love it on here actually. The stats website. Team has no significant strengths.
Oh. Oh dear, that's worrying. Butler, he's not come back and done well. In fairness, I mean, huge mistake for I think it was the second goal yesterday.
Right,
yeah, dear. And Paul Hurst, you can see he's already cutting a frustrated figure. I don't think there's ever going to be an imminent let's get rid of Paul Hurst because he's not the problem. They've got Jamie Proctor in, they've got George Miller, they've signed the players they wanted to sign.
Because we said they wouldn't have a firing off season, but they're bottom, and that squad is not a bottom of League Two squad.
It's not. It's not.
Abu Issa as well, coming in from Shrewsbury. I mean, he's a really good player.
Yeah.
Maybe not as good as his brother, but he is a very good player, very good at running at players. Yeah, like you say, and Novak as well is already there. I am very surprised when they came to us.
Well, Novak's injured at the moment, isn't he?
He is, yeah. But when they came to us, the fact they went ahead, I know Chart went on to win 4-1, but the fact they went ahead was a shock because they offered virtually nothing.
Yeah, worrying times for Scunthorpe. Really a poor side, looking bereft of confidence and, to be honest, bereft of ideas. So we'll have to see how that one turns out. Grimsby lost to Crewe Brasilia, as we call them from now on, because they're that good. Tim, who is a follower of our podcast, who I met down at Crawley, he was telling me on Twitter that Alan Buckley, legendary Grimsby manager, said that that's the best team he has seen play at Blundell Park in recent years. Absolutely played Grimsby off the park. Grimsby fans also commented in our tweet about that, saying that they were brilliant. And they are a fantastic footballing side. They have got some really good young players that they have, drilled into this philosophy of how they want them to play. And they're going about their business superbly well this season. And this was at Grimsby. This was away from Gresty Road. And they've picked up another win. They've picked up a clean sheet. They're playing some of the best football that they have for some time. They've got a young, hungry group of players, ably backed up by some experience. Lowry and Kirk, these two, keep an eye on them because they've both got huge careers ahead of them. How high they can go?
Which one of you fancied these for automatic?
I think James. It was James.
You talked me down. You wouldn't let me. I had them. I think I had them third. And to be fair, we talked Luke down on Swindon, who we'll come to next. But I really like what I saw with Crewe. I've seen them a couple of times this season already. They were worthy winners against Bradford. They were worthy winners at Crawley. Clearly worthy winners here at Grimsby, who have been a fantastic team this season. Great save by the goalie to stop James Hanson getting the penalty. And at times, of course, you're going to have to need that little bit of luck to win those games. They've got a settled side. If you look at the team that they're picking week in, week out, not many changes. I think, that's a benefit to them. All these managers that tinker too much, sometimes I think don't need to do it. You've got Nolan, Lancashire forming a decent centre-back partnership. The fullbacks, NG and Pickering, fantastic as well.
Are you trying to tell me that signing 17 players over the summer isn't the way to do well?
And then not putting them in the consistent lineup is definitely not a way to do well. No, absolutely not. And to be fair, Grimsby have done really well. They haven't changed too much, but not many teams will live with Crewe this season, I think.
No, yeah, they're proving so effective this season. They set up in a style that works so well and teams can't really deal with. And they've lost one game, is it, against Newport, who again won 1-0 against them.
Yeah, and they've had the second highest number of shots per game because they're getting forward. They're attacking more than last season. One of the biggest problems is they didn't score enough last year. They've changed that around already. So brilliant stuff, and really excited to see how this team develop. I think Grimsby will have a good season, don't get me wrong, but I think Crewe are, in terms of development, this team has been together for like 3 years, so they're a step ahead of quite a number of teams. Swindon, though, Luke, you like them. Go on. They've done brilliantly, haven't they?
Yeah, I think, and another thing, Michael also alluded to the fact he thinks they're sort of the best sort of team he's seen this season. He think they'll go up, and like I said in pre-season, I absolutely agree. I think they're particularly good away from home, but the quality they've got, the movement of that front three is absolutely, is a League One kind of football team going forward. Lloyd Isgrove is a brilliant little creative player, can put a great ball in. Owen Doyle has been the sort of that missing link, that striker that they didn't have last season. Little giggle there. And players, when you've got Woolery, when you've got Keshi Anderson, all these quick, pacey players around them, it does not surprise me to see them doing as well. They're the best team I've seen Cheltenham play this season, and that's obviously in a draw, not a defeat, but certainly coming to the Johnny Rock Stadium in the last sort of 12 months, they have been they were even better than Tranmere, the only team to beat us since the turn of the year there. They were really, really good, and I think looking at them again yesterday, the quality of the goals, quality they got in the team, they're going to have a really good season. They've just got that little bit better, and Wellens has finally got them playing the way he wants them to play. So you've got to say fair play to them. They've got the fan base as well. It's going to be a good season for Swindon.
Yeah, what sort of team would think Wellens is a bad manager?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, who'd get rid of him? Fools. But Lloyd Isgrove, 5 assists, looks good. Every time he gets the ball, he's dangerous. And I think, his coach, the head coach, is saying he needs more goals to his game. Maybe, if you're being very critical, that's true. But what a fantastic performance and seasons he has had so far. Morecambe, 2-2 with Salford. Salford need to practice their penalties. They missed 2, though, to be fair. Both were well saved. Danny Lloyd, 2 goals. Great to see him back playing. Great to see him back in the lineup.
Well, Danny Lloyd nearly broke the crossbar with his.
Yeah, he did, to be fair. I mean, if you're going to take a penalty and miss it, that's the way to do it.
I mean, fair play, yeah.
I would say, though, as well, I'm pleased that Salford are no longer playing that sort of 5 at the back system, or, 3-5-2 technically, because it's not good enough. It's not attacking enough. They'll win more games playing like they did yesterday. Obviously, they'll be disappointed they defended really badly. Jack Baldwin, massive intent by signing a player like that on loan from Sunderland. Jake Jervis as well coming in, and Sam Hughes from Leicester. So 3 pretty big signings, and when you've got good money backing you, yeah, I know you can do it, but you still have to make a good team, and I like Graham Alexander. I think he's a good manager. Yeah, of course.
I don't know much about their owners.
No, I don't think anyone does. It's not been publicised enough. In fact, we should.
Need to shine a light on it.
Should we do a documentary? Because I don't think there's been that many. I
don't think there's been enough
on D3D4 YouTube.
Yeah, you can do the voiceover. That's if your geology career doesn't work out, I'll put you in touch with the voiceover department at ITV.
Oh, nice one.
There we go. So a 2-2 draw. Morecambe, again, disappointing that they haven't got a win, because they're doing what they always do, which is struggle. Plymouth 2, Oldham 2. You did read that right. Oldham went away to a team like Plymouth and got a point, Chris. That's excellent.
He scored 2 goals.
In the same game. Crazy.
Not from our strikers, mind, but...
No, but one of the finishes was superb, to be fair.
Well, both goals were pretty good. I mean, Wheat is now our top scorer, so our centre-half is our top scorer.
Isn't that a tradition at Oldham with Peter Clark? And
Yeah, to be fair. But I was chatting to a couple of Plymouth fans about it, and they weren't blown away by us, don't get us wrong, but they didn't think we should be anywhere near the bottom half. And I thought that actually last week we're not scoring enough, but we're starting to create chances, which gives me a bit more confidence that we'll finish in the predicted 15th place and not lower than that. Which is, I'll be pleased with a 15th place finish this season. I won't lie.
Oh God. Actually, to be fair, I'd be happy. I'd take 15th right now as Oxford fan.
Yeah. But, with everything going on at the club, I think that would just stay in the league. That's fine.
Don't get relegated.
But, a lot of the Oldham fans came away fairly content with it. They thought Plymouth put in a good game and we matched them well. So, yeah, I'm happy with that.
Bradford fans will be happy for a change as well. They won 2-1 against Northampton. not a great debut for Mr. Harriman, own goal. Late in the day, there was 13 minutes to go and he scored that, and then 2 minutes from time, O'Connor gets the winner. Paulie O'Connor's quite a good player as well, and I think he deserves that goal. Zeddy Ishmael did get sent off, but actually having him back, when Devitt's out, that's a bit of creativity. If he can be consistent, which has always been the problem in his career, then they'll be fine. Northampton, they'll be disappointed because they're so close to going to Bradford getting a point, and that was after beating Plymouth last weekend. So a bit of a dampener to what would have been a very positive week for the Cobblers. But I think Keith Curl still, as he said midweek, trying to work out his best system and his best tactics, and that just leaves the Silkmen versus Crawley. Bez Labala, what a player he is, Chris. Go on, give us your brief summary of that game.
Well, Labala, you'd spotted how good he is with his feet, and he's really quite strong on the ball, and I thought Macclesfield were dealing with him really, really well. They were closing him down quickly, they were marking him tightly, and weren't giving him too much of a sniff. And then he gets that free kick, and what do? I thought both sides defended really quite well. And Crawley were forced basically to shoot from range. And that sort of took away the potency because they've got Palmer up front, who's a bit of a lump up front, but an effective lump, and really needs to be closer in on goal to finish. So Macclesfield were defending that really well. I thought at half time it was right that they were in the lead, just because they'd been that little bit more potent. I was impressed with both centre halves for Macclesfield, especially Vassell, who got man of the match. Their midfielder, Osadebe, he reminds me a bit of Usman Fain and Mohamed Silla in that I'm not sure how he plays football, but he does it really quite well.
Yeah. A few players like that, like, how is he a good player? But
you don't know what his legs are doing. It's like watching spaghetti or something, but it works. It just confuses the opposition, and he's actually got quite a bit of skill about him. Archibald, I didn't think was at his best, but he looked effective, and he looked, especially in the first half, quite dangerous down the wing, sort of shaking, ruffling feathers down the Crawley left back.
My opinion, Doherty is it Doherty, the left back who played yesterday? I mean, he'd probably be.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, he's probably the only player I'd be like a bit worried about if I was a Crawley fan, because he struggles at times. I think he did against Daniel Powell when I saw them against Crawley. He puts in a lot of effort, to be fair. Dallison and Tunnicliffe, I thought, brilliant centre backs though for Crawley. They just really solid.
Yeah, well, Tunnicliffe used to play at Stockport. I think if it's the same Tunnicliffe, and he impressed me there. The only real weak player I saw in the team actually was Macclesfield goalkeeper Owen Evans, who a couple of times, botched clearances, or he fluffed a couple of times he came for crosses, and he almost gifted a goal to Crawley at the start of the second half, where I think there was a back pass to him and he just sort of lost control, and it was down the other end of the pitch. I don't know which strike it was, came in and just were fortunate to have it. Well, the goalkeeper was fortunate that it bounced off his leg and went out for a throw-in. But other than that, actually, I thought they were two really quite impressive sides that I wouldn't be worried about them being towards the bottom half. I think we had Macclesfield relegated, and I didn't see a side there that would be anywhere near relegation.
Yeah, no, they've done really well, and they've defied, to be fair, a very difficult summer. Welsh Hayes, of course, like him, ex-Oxford, came through our youth system. I think he's done well. Keller, of course, never really got a chance at Oxford, but he's done a very good. He's become a very key centre back for Macclesfield.
Actually, I lie. There was another poor player, Ironside. He's useless. He's very Urko Vera.
I think he might have scored one this season. I'm not sure if he has. But
so's Urko Vera.
Yeah. Yeah. Debatably. You made sure that he got given that goal, didn't he? But so there you go. I think we've covered it all off, and I hope you've enjoyed it. I'm unfortunately out of time, but what a weekend it was for League One and Two football. Loads of goals, loads of quality. I hope you follow these teams as closely as we do, because it's a great couple of divisions to cover week in, week out, and we thoroughly enjoyed doing it. And Chris, thank you for joining me as always.
Yeah, pleasure. Had a good fun with this one.
Lucas Dukas, great to have you back, mate.
Thank you very much. Enjoyed it, lads. Good week.
And we'll have to get you both back on in 2 weeks. I think it's 2 weeks' time. It'll be our 100th proper podcast. I say proper because we've probably done well over 100 if you take into all our podcast extras, but I don't count them. Proper covering the divisions podcasts. It'll be our centenary. So fantastic. I don't know. I'll think if I can do anything special for it. But it's just been great. 100 podcasts from when you and I started, Luke. That I still remember that first one where we just finally got it going.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely, mate. It's been fantastic and great to see you growing it. Brilliant.
Yeah. Well, thank you to everyone who supports us. If you engage with us on Twitter, you retweet our stuff, you give us your scouting reports, you give us your match reports. It's a community. We've built it. I hope we can continue this for many years to come. But if you can support us through Patreon, that's a huge help because it's a lot of work doing this, and we are eternally grateful, and we've really enjoyed doing it. So, but anyway, out of time this week. Hope you've enjoyed this podcast. Please give it a retweet. Please give it a share. And until next week, it's goodbye from all of us. Take care, everyone.